Hello everyone, my name is ZHAI MANYU and this is my presentation. My topic is about community of inquiry model and its application in a flipped learning classroom. And the learning objectives. First, must understand the community of inquiry model. Second, must understand the flipped learning model. Last, about apply the community of inquiry model in a flipped learning classroom. And the first section is about community of inquiry model. Authors of COI model: Charles Sanders Peirce and John Dewey. COI model first introduced by early pragmatist philosophers C.S. Peirce and John Dewey concerning the nature of knowledge formation and the process of scientific inquiry. And there are Randy Guernsey, Terry Anderson, Walter Archer. The community of inquiry model is an instructional design model for e-learning developed by them. Its purpose is to provide a framework for the use of CMC in supporting an education experience. And this is about introduction to COI model. The community of inquiry model is an instructional design model for e-learning. Its purpose is to provide a framework for the use of CMC in supporting an educational experience. And this is the community of inquiry model framework. The COI model is a popular conceptual framework in online education and that identifies three main important elements in a high-quality online learning experience. The first is teaching presence, the second is social presence, and the third is cognitive presence. The community of inquiry model defines a good e-learning environment through these three main components. And the first is cognitive presence. Cognitive presence is the extent to which the participants in any particular configuration of a community of inquiry are able to construct meanings through sustained communication. And cognitive presence is the intellectual and mental effort and process required for learning in face-to-face courses or even synchronous courses. Cognitive presence can be created through collaborative activities or group discussions and reflections. In an online orientation program, cognitive presence is created primarily through the design and delivery of content and learning activities. And next is teaching presence. Teaching presence is defined as the design, facilitation, and the direction of cognitive and social processes for the purpose of realizing personally meaningful and educational worthwhile learning outcomes. This presence includes the role of the instructor in designing and maintaining the course. In a face-to-face environment, the teaching presence is somewhat obvious. The instructor is in front of you most of the time, and you are able to directly witness them and their choices impacting the learning environment. In an online course, especially is asynchronous, self-paced course, the teaching presence may be more suitable but just as important. The instructors themselves may not be variable, but they are present in every decision related to the design and the management of the course. And this is about social presence. Social presence is the ability of learners to project their personal characteristics into the community of inquiry, thereby presenting themselves as real people. Social presence allows learners to feel comfortable being themselves and sharing their thoughts, feelings, and experiences with their peers, and transforms online learning from a simple process of downloading information to an experience that creates a true sense of community. And I think I think the COI model helps you to think about the development of the program and all the choices that must be made. Topically, we focus on the content of the program and overall other content. Thinking about your programs through the lens of exploring the community model focuses you to consider not only content, but also learning activities, structures, and navigation, social interaction, and community building. To name a few, these are all things that can affect the quality of a program. A certain degree of social resources may be a prerequisite for the existence of connection. And it is important as well to show the relationships and teaching as a social presence. Topically, in this framework, social presence is referred to as something that the students do. However, the teacher presence is the teacher that sets the climate, allows students to feel safe. Community naturally have the opportunities to express your uh, personality. Teachers also have a type of social pressure. To some researchers have shown that teacher social presence can actually be more important to a student than their peers. And teaching presence also have a direct impact on cognitive presence because they are the ones that that are really regulating the learning of the students, making sure that they go through the processes of they need to go through in order to understand the content. And when all three of these processes are together, they are going to have the best educational experience. All three are necessary, so a lot of times we ignore the social presence and focus on the content and interactions and things like that. But we really also have to remember that learning is a human process and it's a social process, and so we have to have social presence in our courses in order to have a high level of cognitive presence. And this is uh, categories and indicators. Cognitive presence categories includes um, triggering event, exploration, integration, resolution, and its indicators about sense of puzzlement, information exchange, contending ideas, apply new ideas, and social presence. Social presence categories include emotion expressions, open communication, and group coherence. And its indicators include emoticons, risk-free experience, expression, encouraging collaboration. And the teaching presence categories include instructional management, building understanding, direct instruction, and its indicators include defining and initiating discussion topics, sharing personal meaning, and focusing discussion. And next section is about flipped learning model. Flipped learning model is a methodology that helps teachers to prioritize active learning during class time by assigning students lecture materials and presentations to be viewed at home or outside of class. Fluid learning is an instructional approach in which direct instruction is transferred from a group learning space to an individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment in which educators guide students in applying concepts and creatively engaging with the subject matter. And the four pillars of flipped learning. The first is F, flexible environment. Flipped learning allows for various learning modes. Educators often physically rearrange their learning spaces to accommodate a lesson or unit. To support group work or independent study, they are create flexible space in which students choose when and where they learn. And the second is L, learning culture. In the traditional teacher-centered model, the teacher is the primary source of information. By contrast, the flipped learning model deliberately shifts instructional to a learner-centered approach, wherein class time is dedicated to explore topics in greater depth and creating rich learning opportunities. The third is about intentional content. Flipped learning educators continually think about how they can use the flipped learning model to help students develop critical thinking skills, conceptual understanding, as well as procedural fluency. Educators use intentional content to maximize classroom time and adopt student-centered active learning strategies. And the last is P, professional educator. The role of a teacher is even more important and often more demanding in a flipped classroom. Professional educators must continually observe their students, providing them with relevant feedback and assessing their homework. They are reflective in their practice, connected to improve their instruction, accept constructive criticism, and tolerate controlled chaos in their classrooms. The advantages of flipped classroom: it helps create a better learning experience for students. In a flipped classroom setup, homework is done at school rather than at home, and students can get help from their teachers quickly. Second, students can take courses at their own pace and in their own way, without being subject to the pace of teachers they may not appreciate. Last, for teachers, the flipped classroom gives them the flexibility to teach their students. They gain a better understanding of how students understand the lessons early on and can make the necessary adjustments to give them a better grasp of those lessons. The disadvantages of flipped classroom: the primary challenge of the flipped classroom is the state of the technology in different parts of the world. Technology plays a critical role, especially in delivering lessons to students in a flipped classroom. In some regions, access to technology is less reliable than in others, which greatly hinders the global adoption of the flipped classroom model. The studies Poverty is the major factor as not all families can afford the technology needed to flip the classroom or even the internet access itself. For some, this can exacerbate the digital and social class divide, with poor students being excluded compared to wealthy students. And the last section is about the community of inquiry model in a flipped learning classroom. The first is about create cognitive presence in a flipped learning classroom. First, offers the variety of different types of content and assignments, videos, writing, audio, reflections, team-based work, reading games, and so on. Second, provide opportunities for group brainstorming, such as design concept maps together. Third, have students create or find relevant materials and post them as resources to the flipped classroom. Fourth, encourage students to reflect. Last, link current learning content to previous content or learning. And the second part is create teaching presence in a flipped learning classroom. First, make your own introductory video for students and don't be afraid to let them know more about your personally pets, family photos, the book you are reading, and so on. Second, contact the students regularly and reach out to those who are feel behind. Third, at the end of the week, create a highlight reel of what's happening in your classroom and the insightful contributions of your students. The last, use formative assessments such as post quizzes, discussion post, reflective writing assignments, and participation in classroom meetings to provide ample opportunities for feedback. This part is about create social presence in a flipped learning classroom. The first is post a welcome message in the course and set communication expectations. Second, have students post a friendly or introductory video of themselves and their interests. Third, use short videos to introduce the course, the different topics, and how to operate the technology. First, use real-time communication channels such as text, chat, or shared whiteboard space. The last, develop peer review assignments with clear scoring criteria. And that's all. Thank you for listening. Terry Makashi.